You may think you're here by accident. You may believe the choices you've made are random, that the turns your life has taken are nothing more than chance. But let me tell you something that may change the way you see everything. This is not a coincidence. You are not stumbling in the dark. God is secretly, purposefully leading you to wealth. Not just the kind you store in banks or count in bills, but wealth in purpose, in vision, in abundance, in joy, and yes, even in material blessings. You see, when we walk through life focused only on what's visible, we miss the invisible hand that moves behind every event, every delay, every connection, and every heartbreak. We tend to see closed doors as failures. We assume lost opportunities are punishments. We cry over missed chances and wonder why life seems unfair. But what if you could pull back the curtain and see the divine strategy at work? What if the things that didn't work out were not setbacks, but setups? What if your current situation is not an accident, but alignment? Not chaos, but calling. You are not wandering, you are being led. And while it may seem quiet, slow, or even confusing, heaven is orchestrating your journey. The setbacks were not to stop you, but to reroute you. The failures were not rejection, they were redirection. The delays were not denials. God has a plan that is higher than yours. And the road to wealth, real wealth, often begins in places that don't look like promise. We are conditioned to expect blessings to come wrapped in ease and comfort. But the truth is, God often hides his greatest treasures in uncomfortable places. Just look at the stories of those who came before us. Joseph was thrown in a pit, sold into slavery and thrown into prison. Not exactly a path anyone would sign up for. But it was all part of a divine journey leading him to a position of power where he would save a nation and his family. That wasn't coincidence. That was divine navigation. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not cursed. You are not unlucky. God is secretly positioning you. In the silence, he's working. In the waiting, he's preparing. In the confusion, he's teaching, and in the delay, he's developing the character you'll need to sustain the wealth he's leading you to. Wealth without wisdom is dangerous. Abundance without purpose is empty. Success without humility is fleeting. That's why God isn't just giving you things. He's giving you growth. He's building the version of you that can handle what he wants to entrust you with. You are being trained in hidden places, refined through struggles, matured through pain, so that when your moment of elevation comes, you won't just arrive, you'll thrive. You may not see the results yet, but that doesn't mean the process isn't working. Seeds don't sprout the moment they are planted. They break in silence, grow roots in darkness, and then one day they burst forth. God works the same way. He plants purpose deep in your heart and watches as you grow through seasons of uncertainty. But just because it's hidden doesn't mean it's not happening. Start paying attention to the coincidences that keep showing up. The right people coming into your life at the right moment, the resources appearing just when you need them, the doors you couldn't have opened on your own. These are not luck. These are signs. God is steering you. Your desire to break generational cycles, your dream to live in financial freedom, your hunger to make a difference, these are not random ambitions. They were planted in you for a reason. That desire is part of your divine compass. It's pointing you somewhere. And you wouldn't feel it so strongly if it wasn't meant for you. God is not teasing you with dreams. He is training you for destiny. So even when it feels slow, trust the process. When you feel invisible, remember that God sees you. When you feel like giving up, remember this. Your journey to wealth is not a sprint. It's a divine strategy, and every step matters. Do you think it's a coincidence that you're here, listening to these words, feeling something inside you rise up again? That's confirmation. That's stirring in your soul. That God reminding you of your purpose. That quiet whisper that says, keep going even when it's hard. That's divine guidance. Don't let the enemy convince you that you're behind. Don't believe the lie that says it's too late or that you've missed your chance. God's timing is not bound by clocks. He's not in a hurry, but he is always on time. You haven't missed your window. You're right on schedule for what he's preparing you for. Start to see your life through a divine lens. Reframe your past, reimagine your pain. Everything you've been through was not in vain. The loss, the betrayal, the bankruptcy, the rejection, it all taught you something. It strengthened you, it refined you, and now you're ready for the next level. Because it's not just about money, it's about mission. God doesn't give wealth without purpose. He blesses you so that you can bless others. He elevates you so you can lift others. He makes room for you so you can make room for others. So prepare your heart now, prepare your mind. Begin to manage what you have with excellence. Because if you can be faithful with little, God will trust you with much. We live in a time where the world is searching for answers. People are hurting, families are struggling, and many are living paycheck to paycheck, not because they're lazy or lack intelligence, but because they've been trapped in systems and patterns designed to keep them small. But God is raising up a new generation of leaders, people like you, who will break those chains, build wealth with integrity, and show others a better way. That's why the battle has been so intense. That's why the warfare around your mind, your finances, your relationships has been so relentless. Because the enemy knows what's coming. He knows that once you realize your identity, once you see the hand of God on your life, once you start walking boldly in your calling, nothing can stop you. So he tries to distract you, discourage you, delay you, but what he can't do is destroy you. God's plan for your life is not fragile. It's not based on your performance. It's based on his promise. And he who began a good work in you will be faithful to complete it. You may not feel ready. You may not feel worthy, but God isn't looking for perfect vessels. He's looking for willing ones. He's looking for people who will trust him even when they can't trace him. So today, I challenge you to shift your mindset. Stop seeing yourself as a victim. Start seeing yourself as chosen. Begin to walk as though it's already happening. Speak as though the doors are already open. Act as though the resources are already on the way. Because your faith activates the flow. Your obedience unlocks the overflow. And no, you won't always understand the route, but you don't have to. You just have to trust the GPS of heaven. Even when it takes you through valleys, even when it leads you through storms, it's leading you to your promised land. Some of you have been asking for signs. This is your sign. Some of you have been asking God if he sees you, if he hears you, if he's forgotten you. The answer is no. He sees, he hears, he remembers, and he's leading you quietly, powerfully, perfectly into a life of wealth, purpose, and legacy. This is not a coincidence. That idea that won't let you go, that dream that keeps burning in your soul, that vision that wakes you up at night, it's not fantasy, it's prophecy. And God is guiding your steps, one decision at a time, one conversation at a time, one act of faith at a time. So keep moving, keep trusting, keep building, keep believing, because the same God who started this journey will finish it. And when you look back, you'll see it wasn't luck, it wasn't chance, it wasn't coincidence, it was God all along. And now it's your turn to say yes, yes to the process, yes to the purpose, yes to the wealth that's waiting, not just for you, but through you, for everyone you're called to impact. God's hand is on your life. His favor is on your path, and his promise is already written. Walk in it boldly. This is not a coincidence. What may seem like random events in your life are not accidents. They are divine arrangements. Many people move through life believing that what happens to them is a matter of luck, coincidence, or random chance. But when you look closer, when you quiet your heart and reflect on your journey, you will begin to notice a pattern, a quiet, consistent, intentional guiding hand that has been working in your life all along, which is what advances your life forward and who makes it difficult or impossible to set goals for you. That is not coincidence, that is divine guidance. There are moments you look back on and say, I don't know how I got through that, or I don't know why that opportunity came to me when it did. But the truth is, you were never moving alone. God was placing the right people in your path, opening certain doors and closing others, moving things around behind the scenes to protect you, to grow you, and to prepare you for what He had planned. Even the detours that frustrated you, even the relationships that ended, even the jobs you didn't get, none of it was outside of His awareness. He allowed certain things to fall apart so better things could come together. What you called a loss, He called redirection. What you saw as delay, He saw as perfect timing. That is not just leading you toward a general idea of success. He is specifically guiding you toward abundance that is tailored for your calling. That includes financial wealth, not so that you can simply live in comfort, but so that you can live in purpose. When you are walking in alignment with Him, provision is never separate from the plan. The money, the resources, the partnerships, they are all a part of the larger picture. And even when you can't see the full picture, God is still painting it. Even when your path feels confusing or uncertain, He knows exactly where He's leading you. Think about the connections you've made seemingly by chance. Think about the job you weren't even looking for, but somehow got. Think about the idea that wouldn't leave your mind, the one that turned into a business, a ministry, or a breakthrough. Those weren't random. They were part of God's strategic, loving guidance. And He's still guiding you, even now. Every day you wake up with breath in your body, He is still orchestrating your path. He is still speaking to you through people, through circumstances, and through moments of clarity and conviction. Sometimes we ignore these nudges because they don't come in dramatic forms. We expect God's direction to arrive like lightning when often it comes like a whisper. That sudden idea you got while driving, that urge to call someone you hadn't spoken to in years, that door that opened after months of silence, these are not small things. They are threads in a tapestry of divine movement, drawing you closer to the wealth, purpose, and influence God has prepared for you. And even when life feels chaotic, God is not confused. He doesn't need perfect conditions to bring His promises to pass. In fact, He often does His best work in the most unexpected ways. When you feel surrounded by uncertainty, remember, the steps of a righteous person are ordered by the Lord. That means He is not reacting, He is directing. And you are not lost, you are being led. When you start to believe this, your perspective changes. You stop panicking over delays. You stop questioning your worth when people reject you. You stop comparing your timeline to someone else's. Instead, you begin to trust that you are on a unique path with a divine timeline under the care of a perfect guide. And that kind of trust builds peace, it builds patience, and it builds faith. The kind of faith that creates space for miracles. That is not just leading you somewhere. He's leading you to something, a life that reflects His glory, a life of abundance, a life where you not only have enough, but more than enough so you can be a blessing to others. That's not just wealth. It's purpose-driven wealth. And you're not walking toward it by accident. You're being guided step by step by the one who sees the end from the beginning. So the next time you feel uncertain, the next time things don't make sense, remind yourself, this is not coincidence. This is divine guidance. You are being led towards something greater than you imagined, because the one guiding you sees what you cannot yet see, and He is faithful to finish what He starts. Before wealth is released, God prepares you to handle it. This is a truth that many people overlook in their pursuit of abundance. We often desire the blessings immediately. We want the financial breakthrough, the open doors, the recognition, and the increase without delay. But what we may not fully understand is that God is not just interested in giving us provision. He is deeply committed to preparing us for it. Without preparation, provision can become a burden instead of a blessing. And because He loves us too much to allow what we receive to destroy us, He waits until we're ready. Delays are often misinterpreted as denial, but in the spiritual realm, delays are often an indication that something is being formed within us. The waiting season is not wasted time, it is a refining season. It's the place where our motives are tested, our values are shaped, and our character is solidified. God wants to bless you with wealth, yes, but He is also watching how you handle what you have now. If you can manage little with integrity, He knows you'll manage much with wisdom. But if you cut corners or act irresponsibly with the little, how can He trust you with more? Struggles are not meant to break you. They are meant to build you. In every trial, there is a lesson. In every setback, there is strength being developed. God uses difficulties like a sculptor uses a chisel, not to harm you, but to shape you. He is shaping your perspective so that when you finally arrive at the place of abundance, you do not lose yourself in the blessing. Because wealth without maturity can quickly become a trap. It can inflate your ego, blind your vision, and shift your focus away from purpose. But God, in His wisdom, allows seasons of stretching and scarcity, not to discourage you, but to discipline you. He allows you to experience just enough to stir your hunger, but not so much that you lose your sense of dependence on Him. These are sacred seasons, even if they feel heavy. When you walk through financial tightness or business failure or job rejection, it's not a sign that you are cursed. It is often a sign that you are in the gym of growth, lifting the weight of responsibility before the weight of riches is placed in your hand. Preparation is not always visible. Sometimes the work being done is internal. God begins to purify your desires. He begins to remove selfish ambition, pride, greed, and impatience from your heart. He teaches you how to be generous when you don't have much, how to stay consistent when no one is watching, and how to stay faithful when the results are slow. This process creates a solid foundation so that when the provision comes, you can sustain it. Think about the stories of people who receive sudden wealth, lottery winners, athletes, entertainers, many of whom ended up bankrupt or broken. Why? Because provision without preparation leads to ruin. But God is not interested in temporary success. He is preparing you for a legacy. That means He is not just thinking about your life, He's thinking about the generations that will come after you. He is preparing you to be a steward, not just a receiver. When you understand this, you begin to see your current challenges differently. You stop asking, why me, and begin asking, what are you teaching me? You become a student of your own journey, and you start to recognize how God is building financial wisdom through every experience, learning how to manage debt, how to live below your means, how to invest wisely, how to save with discipline, how to give with purpose. These are not just good habits. These are essential skills for the kind of wealth God is getting ready to release. And not only that, but preparation also makes you emotionally and spiritually ready. Wealth attracts attention, responsibility, and even envy. Without a rooted identity in God, the pressures that come with success can crush you. So He grounds you now. He teaches you how to seek Him first, how to remain humble, how to give Him glory in both lack and abundance. That way, when the overflow comes, you don't forget the source. You are in training, and every season you've walked through has contributed to who you are becoming. The doors that didn't open, the times you were overlooked, the people who walked away, all of it was part of the preparation. It built resilience, it forced you to find your voice, it showed you who you really are. So don't despise this season. Don't rush it. Don't wish it away. You are being shaped for something greater than you can currently see. Trust the process, even when it's uncomfortable, because when God releases the provision, you'll realize why the preparation was necessary, and you'll be ready, not just to receive the wealth, but to carry it with grace, with purpose, and with power. Wealth is more than money. It is deeper, broader, and more powerful than a bank balance or material possessions. While financial prosperity is one part of God's blessings, it is never the full picture. If all you have is money without peace, purpose, or meaningful relationships, then you are not truly wealthy. God's definition of wealth includes the things the world can't quantify: your purpose, your influence, your impact, your inner peace, and the legacy you leave behind. These are the true riches that sustain a life and echo beyond it. Money can buy comfort, but it can't buy contentment. It can buy experiences, but it can't buy joy. It can buy influence in certain rooms, but it can't buy respect in the eyes of those who know your character. That's why God doesn't just aim to bless your bank account. He wants to bless your entire life. He wants your soul to prosper as your material circumstances increase. He wants the wealth He gives you to serve as a tool for fulfilling your purpose, not as a distraction from it. When God blesses someone, He does it with purpose in mind. The resources you're praying for are not just for your enjoyment. They are meant to equip you to serve others, to solve problems, to build systems, to uplift those who are forgotten, and to carry a message of hope into places that need light. The wealth God is preparing for you comes with responsibility, and He will not release it until your heart is aligned with the reason for it. Purpose gives meaning to your wealth. Without purpose, wealth becomes a trap. It becomes something you chase, protect, and hoard instead of something you use, release, and multiply. God doesn't want you to become a slave to riches. He wants you to be a steward of resources. That means understanding that what you have is not just for you, it's for the people He will bring into your life, for the generations that will come after you, and for the opportunities that will arise to glorify Him through your giving and living. Peace is another essential part of wealth. What good is a fortune if you're tormented by anxiety? What use is success if your soul is always tired and restless? God's blessings add no sorrow with them. His version of wealth includes peace that surpasses understanding. That peace doesn't come from having everything go right. It comes from knowing that even when things go wrong, God is still in control. That inner stillness, that unshakable trust, is a form of wealth that no recession can touch, and He offers it freely to those who seek Him above all else. Influence is also a critical form of wealth. Influence isn't about popularity or fame. It's about impact. It's about being a voice of wisdom in chaotic spaces. It's about having favor in places where your presence opens doors not just for you, but for others. When God gives you influence, it's not for self-promotion. It's for service. It's to model integrity in business, to lead by example, to show others what it looks like to live with principle and power. Real influence turns success into significance. And then there's legacy. Legacy is wealth that lives on when you are no longer here. It's the values you pass down, the faith you instill in your children, the lives you touch, the seeds you plant that bear fruit long after you're gone. God's plan for your life is generational. He's not just thinking about what you need today. He's thinking about how your obedience, your sacrifices, and your generosity will shape the future of your family and your community. When you embrace this truth that wealth is more than money, you begin to live differently. You stop chasing quick wins and start building long-term value. You stop defining yourself by income and start aligning yourself with purpose. You learn to say no to what distracts and yes to what builds. You begin to understand that the wealth God is leading you to is not about what you can show off. It's about what you can sow, what you can share, and how you can serve. Money is a tool, a powerful one, but it is not the end goal. The goal is to live a life that reflects God's goodness, fulfills your assignment, and leaves the world better than you found it. That kind of wealth is rare, but it is real. and it is available to anyone who is willing to let God shape their definition of success. Because when you chase purpose, peace, influence, and legacy, the money will come, but more importantly, you'll have the wisdom to know what to do with it. The challenges and losses you've faced were not wasted, though they may have broken your heart, shaken your confidence, or left you wondering why things had to happen the way they did. None of it was meaningless. Pain, as difficult as it is to endure, has a purpose. In the moment, it often feels like suffering has no explanation, like you're being punished or forgotten. But over time, if you're willing to reflect and stay open to growth, you begin to see the deeper work that was happening beneath the surface. God never wastes pain. Every heartbreak, every setback, every disappointment is used to shape you into someone stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the next level of your life. When you're walking through seasons of difficulty, it's easy to feel like God has stepped away, but often it's in the silence, in the dark places of life that God does his most transformational work. Pain can bring clarity like nothing else can. It strips away illusions, reveals what truly matters, and sharpens your focus. It forces you to dig deeper, to confront yourself, to depend on God in ways you never had to before. You learn what faith really is when you have nothing else to hold on to. You discover the power of prayer when you run out of options. And most importantly, you realize that survival alone can be a victory. Pain also has a way of uncovering purpose. Sometimes the very thing that hurt you the most becomes the source of your greatest assignment. The loss you endured may become the reason you start that nonprofit. The betrayal you experienced may become the driving force behind your book or your message. The financial struggle may lead you to develop tools that help others find freedom. Pain pushes you to search for meaning. And when you seek that meaning, with God's help, you begin to discover the purpose buried beneath the suffering. It's not about glorifying the pain, but about letting God redeem it. No part of your story is wasted. The tears you cried, the nights you stayed awake wondering if things would ever change, the times you felt like giving up, all of it is part of the process that is refining you. And once you come through it, you become a vessel of hope for others. Your survival gives others permission to believe they can make it too. Your scars become a testimony. Your endurance becomes a light in someone else's darkness. That is purpose, and that is powerful. Often we are tempted to hide our pain, to pretend we've always had it together, or to minimize what we've been through. But vulnerability is where connection is born. When you are honest about what you've faced, you create space for healing, not just for yourself, but for those who hear your story. God didn't bring you through what he brought you through just so you could move on and forget it. He brought you through it so you could be a voice, a witness, a guide to those who are still walking through their valley. There you are. It's also important to understand that some pain was not sent by God, but he still uses it. Not everything that happens to you is God's doing, but nothing that happens is beyond his power to redeem. Even if it came from a wrong decision, even if it came from someone else's actions, even if it came from circumstances beyond your control, he can use it. He can take what the enemy meant for harm and turn it for good. That's how powerful he is. That's how committed he is to your purpose. Sometimes pain is the only thing that gets our attention. It interrupts our routine. It forces us to reevaluate. And while we don't ask for it, pain can be a turning point, a holy disruption that pulls us out of complacency and leads us into transformation. It reminds us of our need for grace. It humbles us, softens our hearts, and cultivates compassion. People who have known deep pain often carry deep wisdom and empathy. They become safe spaces for others. They become leaders who understand both strength and tenderness. In the end, the pain you've endured becomes part of your strength, not because pain is good in itself, but because of what it produces when surrendered to God. You emerge wiser, tougher, more grounded. You carry a different kind of authority one that doesn't come from titles or degrees, but from experience. You don't just speak from theory, you speak from survival. So wherever you are on your journey, know this: your pain has purpose. Don't let it define you, but don't ignore it either. Let it teach you, guide you, strengthen you. Allow it to fuel your faith instead of your fear. And most of all, trust that God is still writing your story, and the pages written in tears will become the chapters filled with power. Faith activates the flow. It is not just a passive belief or a hopeful wish. Faith is an active force that moves things in the spiritual and natural realms. It's the invisible currency that shifts situations, opens doors, and releases blessings. If you want to see God's promises come to life in your finances, relationships, health, and purpose, you must walk, talk, and act as though those promises are already unfolding. Faith is not waiting for the proof before you believe. It is believing so strongly that your actions and words begin to align with what you expect to receive. Many people misunderstand faith. They think faith means sitting back and hoping for a miracle or saying a quick prayer and then doing nothing. But true faith requires movement. It requires a mindset shift where you begin to live in the reality of God's promise before the physical evidence appears. This means thinking differently about your circumstances, speaking differently about your future, and behaving differently in your day-to-day life. When you do this, you create a spiritual atmosphere where God's blessings can flow freely. Walking in faith means making choices based on God's word and promises rather than your current feelings or the opinions of others. It means investing your time, energy, and resources into what aligns with your calling, even if the payoff isn't immediate or obvious. Faith makes you a risk taker, not recklessly, but confidently, because you know you're not moving alone. You move forward with assurance that God is working behind the scenes to bring what He has promised. Talking in faith means declaring God's promises out loud. It means speaking words of life and expectation, not doubt or fear. Your words carry power. They are the creative force that helps shape your reality. When you consistently speak about your blessings, your breakthrough, and your success, you reinforce your belief and inspire those around you. This doesn't mean ignoring difficulties or pretending everything is perfect, but it does mean choosing to focus your words on what you are trusting God to do, rather than on the problems you face. Acting in faith means taking practical steps that correspond to the promises you believe in. It means working diligently, planning wisely, and being obedient to the opportunities God puts in front of you. Obedience is a key component of faith. God honors obedience because it shows you trust Him. When you obey, even in small ways, He opens the floodgates for greater blessings. Acting in faith also means managing well what you already have. Stewardship is essential. You can't expect more if you don't take care of what's already been entrusted to you. Faith is not just about receiving, it's about stewardship. How you handle the blessings you already have affects the flow of future blessings. If you are faithful with little, God will entrust you with much. This principle is true in finances, time, talents, and relationships. Your mindset matters deeply. If you approach blessings with gratitude, humility, and generosity, you create an environment where God's favor continues to increase. But if you act out of fear, selfishness, or entitlement, you block the flow. It's important to understand that faith activates God's timing as well. Sometimes the promise is sure, but the timing is not. In those moments, your faith keeps the flow moving even when you can't see progress. Faith sustains you during the waiting season. It is the bridge between what you have now and what God is preparing for you. Without faith, you become stagnant. But with faith, you remain expectant, patient, and persistent. When you consistently walk, talk, and act like God's promises are already happening, you position yourself to receive more than you could imagine. Your confidence grows, your influence expands, and opportunities multiply. Faith breaks down barriers until they are opened up for your prosperous and the good you wanted to grow. Whether there is temporal, priceless, or visionary, whether there is virtual or visible, whether they are provational, blessings, and causes provision to flow. Remember, faith is a choice. It is a decision you make every day to trust God's goodness and His Word over your circumstances. Even when the evidence seems contrary, faith chooses to believe. It refuses to give in to fear or doubt. When you choose faith, you align yourself with heaven's flow. You invite God's hand into your life in ways that transform your reality. So if you want to unlock the blessings God has for you, start by cultivating a faith-filled mindset. Speak words of declaration and hope. Take consistent, obedient action toward your goals. Manage what you have with integrity and generosity. And never underestimate the power of faith to move mountains, open doors, and release divine provision. Faith activates the flow, and when you activate faith, you activate your destiny. You are not just being blessed for your sake, you're being positioned to break generational poverty, inspire others, and shift entire communities. Your journey to wealth is also a mission, one that goes far beyond personal gain or comfort. When God calls you to a path of prosperity, it's never just about you. It's about what your success can do to rewrite the stories of those who came before you and those who will come after. It's about breaking cycles that have held your family, your neighborhood, or even your nation captive for generations. Many people live under the weight of generational curses, patterns of poverty, addiction, brokenness, or limitation passed down through families. These cycles often seem impossible to break because they are rooted in systemic issues, behaviors, and mindsets that have been deeply ingrained over time. But God's plan for your life is not to continue that cycle. It's to disrupt it. He is raising you up as a key part of His strategy to bring healing and restoration. Your breakthrough isn't just for your benefit. It's for the sake of your ancestors, your children, and your community. When you begin to understand that your financial success is connected to a greater purpose, your perspective changes. You begin to see challenges differently. You become more intentional with your resources, more strategic with your influence, and more generous with your blessings. Breaking cycles requires more than just personal effort. It requires vision and a commitment to use what you've been given to uplift others. Your wealth becomes a tool for transformation. Your journey becomes a testimony that inspires others who feel trapped or hopeless. When people see someone from their background rise above limitation and achieve success, it challenges their beliefs about what is possible. Your story becomes a beacon of hope. It encourages others to pursue their own breakthrough and to believe that they too can change their circumstances. You become a living example that poverty, hardship, or brokenness are not the final word. But breaking cycles also means investing back into your community. It means creating opportunities for others to grow, whether through jobs, education, mentorship, or support. When you use your blessings to build infrastructure, fund scholarships, or start businesses that hire locally, you create ripple effects that uplift entire neighborhoods. The impact multiplies beyond what one person can do alone. Your success plants seeds of change that will bear fruit for generations. This mission requires intentionality. It demands that you resist the temptation to focus solely on personal gain or luxury. Instead, you become a steward of the resources God entrusts to you, knowing that with great blessing comes great responsibility. You learn to balance enjoying your blessings with giving generously and wisely. This mindset helps you avoid the pitfalls of greed, entitlement, or isolation. It keeps your heart connected to the purpose God has for your wealth.